you're not actually being punished. You're actually in the healing process. Let's talk about it next on the Giving a Purpose podcast. Welcome to the Giving a Purpose podcast, where we bridge the highs, the lows, the lessons learned through life's journey, and filling in the gap. You already know what it is. New episode, new week. I am your host, Mr. LA. Man, first of all, I want to thank you guys for tuning in every week and sharing the podcast. But if you can, make sure you subscribe. Man, hit that subscribe button, turn your notifications on so you know when a new episode is coming out. You never know what may be led for you to hear. So turn those notifications on, make sure you subscribe. Today, I want to talk to everyone about perception and just understanding the difference between something that kind of hit my spirit and something that kind of led me to talk today. And that's knowing the difference between healing and feeling like you're being punished. You ever had a feeling where you feel like God is punishing you, or God has you in your wilderness, or God has you in this thing, and it's really not a punishment? Like, it feels like a punishment. You feel like you're being restricted from something. You remember when you was a kid and, you got that whooping, or you were being disciplined, or being punished. You couldn't watch TV. You couldn't go outside back in the day, because that was a thing back in the day. You didn't. You couldn't go outside. It was a major thing. Couldn't play video games, or you're being restricted from something, or you're just not being allowed to do anything. And I also realize that sometimes when we have those moments, it's not a moment of punishment. It's actually a moment of healing, right? And if you've ever been sick before, when you're getting better, you can't do everything. A lot of the things that you want to do, you can't get up and do it. You may need assistance. You may have to, and especially coming through living my life during a pandemic and things like that, sometimes you just have to be quarantined. I want you to think about that. I want you to think about the time where you felt like you were being punished and you might have been in quarantine. And quarantine, I know we might demonize it, we might make it sound bad, but sometimes being quarantined is a protection. Right? It's a protection during that healing process. It's not always you gotta, depends on the perspective you look at it. Sometimes it's not always you're sick and you're being quarantined to keep away. It's sometimes you don't want those other people's germs, and God is protecting you so you don't get worse. And see, sometimes with the perspective, when we don't look at it the right way, sometimes we're thinking we're being punished when we're in our healing process during quarantine, right? And then our healing process, a lot has to happen, right? Let's take something like a cold sometimes. Sometimes you have to get the mucus out. Sometimes you have to get the virus out. Sometimes you have to get the bacteria, or whatever the case may be. You have to go through a process of letting that out. And guess what? It doesn't feel good. You know what? Punishment sometimes doesn't feel good. But we confuse those two sometimes. And that's what I want to kind of talk to you guys about. Is sometimes God may have you in a healing process. You may be isolated, but you think you're in punishment. You may be not allowed to God is keeping you away from things. Like, no, don't go there. Or no, don't hang out with those people. Or no, don't do this. And you're thinking it's a punishment, but he has you in the healing process, right? And before he allows you to do the next thing, he wants you fully healed. Like, yeah, sometimes you may have scars from stuff that you're healing from, right? But also in that healing process, or to think about it, you also got to realize sometimes you just got to rest in God's presence. Sometimes you have to allow him to do the healing. And sometimes, like I said, we when we get it confused between punishment and healing, is sometimes we have to realize that God wants to make sure that you are whole, right? God wants to make sure that you are whole. He wants to make sure that you are fully recovered. And it's not a punishment. Sometimes to get to this next level, he has to heal you from some things so you can use it as your testimony, but not live in the sickness. He needs you fully healed. And he's not punishing you because he's keeping you away from it. It's not punishment. Now, God does discipline. Let's not get that twisted. He does discipline. But you know who he disciplines? The people he loves. The children that he loves, he disciplines. But I want you sometimes to understand, and then even ask God if you don't understand. Is this discipline because you love me, you keep me away, or is this a healing process? It's all about the perspective. And sometimes when you look back on different things, you can realize that God was healing you from some things and he wasn't punishing you, even though it felt like a punishment. Like I said, we've always been that child where we felt like we were being punished and we have things taken away. But God is saying, no, I want you to heal. And during this healing process, sometimes I got to isolate you. I got to put you in quarantine. And I need you to get closer to me. I have the antidote. I have the medicine that you need. I am the ultimate healer. And if you stay close to me, you'll understand that I'm bringing you out of a healing to make you whole. And this is not a punishment. Hopefully this was good for somebody. Hopefully this was good for you. Hopefully this gave some understanding the difference between healing and punishment. Now I need you guys to do the two most important things I ask you to do every week. Make sure you live on purpose and make sure you live in purpose. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.